I want to thank the person who said I needed a mic because you're right, it does sound low. I didn't want to give them a platform, but in a video before I did it this way and it doesn't pick up their sounds as much. I worry about, now you want to know my rational worry is that if I make it louder, then you'll hear more of their noises and sounds and things like that. So hopefully this will work and you'll hear me talking and not them making all their sounds and noises. So thank you for that. Um, when I was looking over clips and sending, posts with clips, they started to worry about the Borgias. They In a previous video I mentioned that there was a show I was watching and they were like, I seem to like a particular scene, and it was from the movie the show The Borgias, Showtime show The Borgias. And so they said something about red, something not red, but they described what was happening in the scene. In the scene, it was Lucrezia trying to get her brother Cesare into an intimate moment. I'll put it that way. So they were really upset about that scene. So, meaning my rational worry, which is that if I amplify myself, I would be amplifying them, is based in reality. Their irrational worry is that if people see a scene of an actress and an actor that was written out in a script that was depicted on cable television, something will happen. And that's a big part of this, their irrational worry. Like everything, every time I do a video, they try to find a way to worry about how it will impact everyone in the world. In life, especially if you're doing something that's creative, you wouldn't be able to create anything. And that's another way I think that this was supposed to work against people who are creative, especially if you're creative and you're trying to put yourself out there in the world. You wouldn't be able to work. And that's why I think a lot of this is about getting victims not to be able to work. So they said something about how they wanted me to have to always double check with one of them. But I wouldn't be able to work. How would I be able to create something if every time I create something I have to worry about it? I wouldn't even present it to anyone. It would just be stuck either in my mind or in a notebook or something. It wouldn't make it easy for a creative person to ever create, because I would be worried about, oh my goodness, can I show anyone this? What will they think of me? Will they go do this? Will they go do that? Will that happen? It would become such a big thing that was supposed to be inside of me. And since it's not naturally who I am, it's naturally who they are. Unless, okay, they said that they always try to twist everything I do, and they admitted it, into something negative. Let me twist that into something negative, a reflection of them. Are they trying to create this in me, knowing that that isn't who they are and how they really think? But if I come across that way, then I would look like I'm mentally ill. So that's how, when I'm dealing with this, that's how I'm dealing with this. Okay, I would never get anything done. I would never present a video and publish a video. I would never answer people's questions or comments because I would be afraid. I would never take a chance in life. So going back to the Showtime, the Borgias, I'm glad I found a clip, and I'm going to post that. I'm going to post a lot of the clips, but I'm going to post a clip of the people who created the Borgias talking about their creative process. And they said that the fans wanted to see, the Lucretia Cesare story, and they went with it, which meant that they created something that they weren't they put out into the world, and the viewers interacted with them. So it's that kind of give and take in the creative process. And partially what I'm trying to do with this channel is incorporate that give and take. It's hard. It's hard when you're doing something and you're telling your story and you're doing it in a different way to then have that give and take. But I think that's something that creation requires. They just said something, I think, about biblical. We're not going to go into the biblical uh, um, creation, but in a creative process. So when I'm watching And I watched the Borgias when it was out, and I'm going over it now. And so they said, well, I could incorporate, this is the voices, said I could incorporate that with the whole Twilight saga. How Bella this is their idea. Bella has a family, and then Cesare has a family. Well, that's their input. So if you guess it, just in case you guys wanted to know, that was their input about family. But I want to talk about it in terms of the creative process. What, as someone who is watching something or reading something or listening to something, how it gets interpreted in our minds and then bring it back to this experience. So, just like I said, if I thought the way they wanted me to think, it would be irrational and I wouldn't be able to function. But I'm also looking at how other creative people put their work out into the world, listen to the feedback from the fans and people who watch it and people who are involved in it, and then create something out of that. So part of what I hope to be able to do is, as I heal from this, incorporate more of the creative process into this channel, talk more about some of the things that I would like to do, talk more about things that I've liked. So you can tell I'm showing you clips of things that I've liked, I've watched, I've enjoyed. But I'm also responding to the voices that would want me to worry about, well, what will people think about me if I include the Borgias? What would people think about me when they falsely accuse me of watching two sex scenes too closely? You know, that is part of this. But then when I'm looking at it also, I'm saying, well, that's also some sort of a mental illness where I would have irrational thoughts that these things would make a difference in how people see me. And if it does make a difference in how people see me, it would in some way affect me. So I'm wondering, just to go back now to this, the voices and this whole mind control and mental illness and manipulation, pretty much. Well, if I stop doing something because someone sees me a certain way, then at what point would I ever get anything done? So they just said this is where I would normally end the video. No, I'm not ready to end the video, but again, I think partly what I'm doing now by not having the cardboard over my head and the moving blanket is letting them talk and bringing their process into this creative process. And I know it can be confusing sometimes when I'm watching. I have to look at the transcript. Was that something that I said, or did they say it? So I know that can be confusing.